I'm coming in loud and clear. Might hear me on the radio. Breaker, breaker, 19. Anybody got their ears on?
Hey guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms here in the mountains of North Carolina. My wife is interested in getting a new radio for her winter car. We have Mirages that we drive most of the year, but in the winter they use salt up here, so we both have what we call winter beaters. These are cars that I picked up for, far less than $1,000, patched up to run, and if they rust out, it's cool. But as a result, these cars do not have very nice setups, they don't have a lot of features and functions. This right here is aiming to solve that for my wife's car. She has a 2005 Mitsubishi Outlander, and it came with a CD player, but of course CDs are a little hard to come by these days. So she wanted, after she bought her Mirage, she wanted a radio similar to that. We found this, a Atoto, I guess it is, Atoto. S8 is the model number on it, and it's one of those fancy infotainment, digital Android-based touchscreens. It's pretty nice. You can hook it to your phone. You can hook it to just downloadable maps and use it offline, but it's got GPS, got all that stuff. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to unbox this thing. We're going to go outside. We're going to install it, and hopefully, we're happy with it. It is the premium model. Looks like it's got 2 gig of ROM and 32 gig of RAM. I think that's what that means. We'll find out here. And it does have a lot of stuff going on. So we have a external USB port, it looks like there. Okay, microphone we can clip on somewhere. Wi-Fi antenna, right? Yes, Wi-Fi antenna. So this thing's got a lot. GPS antenna. The setup for this is probably going to take a little while. Backup camera, if I were going to be betting $1. Yep. Oh, this says front camera, so apparently it has access to 2 cameras. Here's our power or cabling adapter, and I did get this. I'm hoping it's the right one, or this may end up taking place. I'm kind of dirty here. I've already been working today. Might end up taking place over the course of 2 days. I'm not sure if that car came with an amp stock, so if it didn't, this will be right. If not, I'll have to pick another one up. Wow. Okay. Panel operation, operational for CarPlay, warranty and instruction, and just a system operator's manual. So a lot of paperwork to read through. And here's a trim ring for once it's installed. This is a double DIN, obviously. Here's some mounting equipment for the radio to go in. Here's our radio, and it's pretty stout. It's pretty big. This is going to be a really big upgrade for that car. I mean, 2005 GPS units were just about unheard of. But she does sometimes travel far distances in the wintertime, so I want her to be safe and, all that stuff. Plus, she just wanted to be able to listen to MP3s, which her car does not allow her to do. If she wants MP3 to work, she has to, download it and burn it to a CD. Anyway, here's the system. Lots of stuff going on, right? GPS antenna there, USB, video out, microphone in, IR. So it maybe some models have a remote. This one didn't seem to come with a remote, or who knows what the IR means. The ability to add quite a few preamps or amps for it, so that's pretty cool. And of course the main screen, which is beautiful. You got a micro SD card slot here, so she could burn it to a card like that and have probably an endless supply of music to listen to. Just a few buttons here, power on and off, home screen, plus and minus volume. The rest of it controlled digitally. And it does look like it has a built-in mic, although I'm sure that the external mic is probably going to be giving a lot better audio, hooking that up and putting it maybe on. I mounted the one in the Mirage right on top of the steering wheel console cover, so we'll see how we set that one up as we go through this. But cool. Well, let me go out to the car and we will uninstall the radio that's in there, and we'll see what it takes to get this one installed. One more thing I want to point out here is this, and I'm just going to show it real quick because I am not going to show you how to do this because every car is different. But this is the wiring harness that comes with the radio. This right here is going to be different for your car. This is the adapter you need to splice this into your existing wiring harness. Don't skip the 10 bucks that it costs to buy a kit like this and just cut and splice, because you're likely to find out that the colors on the factory radio harness are not the generic colors that most aftermarket radio kits come with. So don't do that to yourselves. You'll end up blowing something up expensive. So we don't want to do that. But we do have all this set up. I've set mine up for my car. So now we're time to move out to the car and get her done. All right, for those of you who have come here to watch the part where I take out the Mitsubishi Outlander dash, well, this is the part. So what we're going to want to do is remove these 3 knobs. And what that's going to expose is a Phillips head screw on either side. So I'll go ahead and unscrew those. Once we have that loose, I'm going to use these tools here. These are trim removal tools, but we're going to be pulling this portion out right here. So you kind of got to dig in and under. And you can do this with a regular screwdriver, but you do run the risk of maybe marring the plastic a little bit. So just be aware of that. This is, by the way, a really easy radio to get in and out. So again, here we are, and we have 4 Phillips head screws here. So I'll go ahead and remove those 4 Phillips. Some cars you got to disassemble, take out the center console. You got to do all kinds of crazy stuff. This one, thankfully, that is not the case. All right. With all those out, we'll go ahead now and pull this forward. And of course. So this does have, unfortunately, a preamp. So I have the wrong kit for it. Okay, so as you can see, the device is installed and it fits in there beautifully. I'm really kind of happy with the way it fit. It was really easy to install this thing. And it's not completely done because I've still got a couple cords dangling here if you look down. So the one cord there is our Wi-Fi extender. So if you were driving through an area that had free Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi that was tethered or a hotspot or whatever, there's your access there. The other cord here is your GPS, and down there it comes with 2 USB outputs that come out the rear. Eventually going to relocate those into the glove box, but you can see I have one hooked up to a USB, put some media files on there. The other one you could hook up to your cell phone for, Android Auto. And then let's see here. So I think we're ready to turn this thing on. I don't have the bezel back in because I want to make sure that everything is working properly. I haven't played with it yet, so let's go. Takes a second to boot up. That's all it takes. And there we go. And it immediately goes back to whatever you were listening to earlier. Right? And we have a royalty-free episode of the Midnight Cafe turning on here. And volume is pretty good, man.
It's time once again to take a journey. So turn on the lights.
Pretty nice. So we'll go into that, and then we have go to the home button. You'll see what we got. I'm going to pause that just so we don't have that playing in the background. But I've already changed the background screen on this. But lots of stuff. We have our phone. What's that one do? I don't know. I can't remember what that is. Oh, regular old radio, right? So let's go through. So AM and FM. Not bad, right? I'll go back out of here. I just don't want to play anything for very long because of copyright issues. Thanks, YouTube. Thank you for totally not understanding what the word fair use is. All right, so anyway, we got a lot of stuff here. File manager. Yeah, let's go in. And USB, right? And we got pictures. I could show a picture here. Hey, look at that. It's the farm. I could set that as a background if I wanted to have that in there. So that's kind of cool. We can roll through there. Look, there's Halloween stuff, right? And then file manager also, we can do, let's stay in USB, we can do songs, right? We have songs here. I'd love to be able to play some of these, but I can't do. But check it out. I just threw this on here because I was curious if it would play videos, and it does. So here's an old Farpoint Farms video that I had sitting on my hard drive.
What do you want to?
I know that guy. I know that guy.
Sitting around.
I don't know where, but I know him from somewhere. So there it is there. Now, this is an older car. This is a 2005 Outlander. So some of the stuff we have here doesn't work on ours. Steering wheel control setup. We don't have steering wheel controls, so that's okay, though. We don't need steering wheel controls because we're old school. This thing's whole touchscreen and has the most commonly used stuff over here on the side. But we also have the ability to record. So we have aux, HD, DVR. This thing, if you have a rear camera or wish to add a rear camera, you can. If you wish to add a front camera or have a front camera, this is compatible with that. It's just that this car doesn't work with those because it predates that technology, so that's not there. We have our music, and we go to this, and we immediately go back to our USB drive, or we could go back to on board, and there's also an SD slot here, so plenty of places to find music. Maps, I'm not going to click on that. Do you know why I'm not going to click on that? It's really interesting. It works beautifully. It's Google Maps, and you can, of course, use it like any other Google Map setup. But because it knows, because of the GPS, exactly where I am, and because I'm kind of weird, I don't really want y'all to know exactly where I am. I'm in the mountains of North Carolina. That's close enough, right? So we'll leave that at that. But then we move on here. We have our access to our radio while still on the main screen. Again, our main stuff is still down here, and you can move these around if you like. But now we have the ability to, again, go to Maps. We have the Play Store. We have YouTube. Yeah, that's right. You can watch YouTube on this thing. Google Chrome. I'm not sure. Easy Connection, I think, is for hooking up your phone. I haven't played with that one yet. And, of course, Bluetooth music. So a lot of folks use their cell phone as a media device. And so if you have that, well, now you can link to it, and you can play music directly off your phone. All right, let's move. I think that's actually, yeah, that's the whole page there. But we can go into settings. I mean, I'm not going to go through all of this with you because literally, it's pretty much what any Android system. So if you have a cell phone that's an Android system, this is going to be very, very similar. Device information, location. I mean, it's pretty cool. Your storage, apps that you have available. You can also have this thing. I turned it off for this, but it will be on 99.9% of the time. It auto starts to navigation, so you can have your maps loaded up, so while you're traveling you can see where you're headed, where you're going, and still play your music and all that. You can also have this set up like if you had an RV where it shows what's going on the rear camera right here, which is pretty cool. And then you can also set it up so that it displays the forward display after you're done reversing. You can turn on and off. I find this kind of comical. If your system is set up so when you have the car and drive, you're not supposed to be watching movies while you're driving, obviously. But let's say you have a strong sense of keeping your eyes on the road and your passenger would like to watch a movie while you travel. Well, you can disable or enable video playback while in motion so that the passenger can watch that. But please, guys, gals, please don't be watching movies while you're driving, unless it's, Farpoint Farm stuff. But anyway, don't do that. You can turn on rear guides for your camera. You can have a static line. You can have the touch gesture switch. I don't like that stuff. That's where you draw a word, Default media volume, I found that kind of interesting. You can turn that on or off, so it always, when you turn the car on, defaults back to volume 20. And so, occasionally you're jamming to tunes on the way home, I guess, and and you got it cranked up. But maybe when you wake up at 6 a.m. to go to work, you get in the car and it scares the pants off you. So you can have it so it always sets it back down to a lower volume. I thought that's kind of interesting. You can have your navigation voice. You can change it so the Nav Voice comes over the radio louder or softer than the rest. Panel illumination. I'm sure at driving this thing at night, you want this thing turned down so it doesn't blind you. And then if you have keys on your steering wheel to push button for volume, this, that, and the other thing, it's a way to change those functions around. So that's kind of cool. This one here, if you want to use different navigation apps, it did give you the ability to do that. You can also set this thing up as far as user accounts, change your language, change your security, give it a password, all that. And you can actually link it to, your Google account. So all your apps that you have, I guess, would load to that, which is kind of cool. And then this is just system information, date and time, where am I at, this kind of stuff. So pretty cool stuff there in the settings. Again, I'm not going to go through all of it, but Equalizer, I turned something off already, and that was, I had loudness set from the factory. And man, it was way too loud for these speakers. This thing is hooked to the factory amp on this Outlander, so it is pumping it. Between the power that comes out of this radio stock plus that, this thing just had a little bit too much flamethrower going there. So I turned that off, and I've just got it set up generically. This is my wife's car, so she's going to get to set all the sound controls the way she wants to, but it's certainly cool that they got that. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. If you have other questions about this, I'd be happy to try to run through it with you, but it's pretty straightforward. I'm really happy with it. So let me pause the camera one last time. I'm going to finish hooking everything back up just so you can see how clean of an install this is when it's all done. So one of the other stuff here, so we've gone through pretty much this and this here. Let's go to here, and you'll see there's tons more apps that you can get. Google Assistant, you all know that if you have a Google or Android phone. Voice commands, you can say, hey, where's the, what's the meaning of life or something, I don't know. Aux, if you have, it does have connections on the back, so you can add an auxiliary device, maybe a DVD player if you're rolling in an old school van or something like that. And then forward cam, if you have a camera, so you could have a dash cam, and with the onboard programming here, you could literally record you know, your whole drive. So if you want to do a cross-country trip, you could record the whole thing. If you had an unfortunate accident, you could certainly use this as proof that it wasn't your fault. So, but it keeps going, man. This is kind of cool. Now, I don't know about Netflix while you're driving, but it does have that. Play Store's there again. But this one, I don't have the module for it, but you can get Bluetooth-enabled OBD2 plug, and dude, you have access to all kinds of stuff. You can read your fault codes, real-time info on, you know, temperature of transmission fluid, regular fluids, that stuff. All kinds of stuff, graphing, test results, and then maps, of course, but accelerometer, like G-force indicator. It's absolutely absurd, the kind of stuff. I'm going to roll this camera down. Maybe we'll film that a little better. The sun come out here for a second. But yeah, you got that too, so that's pretty amazing. Let me go back in there. Oops. Press the wrong button there. There we go. And so, TPMS, this is really cool. So if you had a modern car, like, well, my Mirage has TPMS sensors in it, but it doesn't tell you what the actual, tire pressures are. It just, you know, lights the light if they're low, but it will, yeah, I don't care about any of that. So you can actually have it. If I go back here, let me see if I back out of it. There we go. So it'll actually show you what the temperature and what the pressure is for your tire pressure sensors. Now, this being a 2005 does not have tire pressure sensors. In fact, one of the last years made without it. But that is really neat. And a lot of modern cars, a lot of fancier cars have that. So that's kind of cool that you have access to that. Especially nice if you're hauling a trailer or something like that. So that's in there as well. I'm not sure what Z-Link is. I haven't had a chance to look that one up, but those two kind of in particular seem neat. And then we have other stuff that you can bring up at a glance. Like I could have this where it shows my temperature and things like that on there. Then like I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of hard with the sun glare all of a sudden, but meetings, like what is my itinerary for today? Stuff like that. So pretty neat. And then Messenger, if you want to have messages coming in. Pandora. I mean, it's just pretty neat, man. I really like it. So let's get back out of that. And you can turn it way up.
A man named Eric is running a show called the Midnight Cafe. Calls you. The conversation seems strange at first.
Man, Atoto. And it's the S8, and I couldn't be happier for the cost that I paid for this. I wish I'd put this in the Mirage. When I bought the Mirage, I upgraded the radio to the radio out of the SE. Having played with this for like just about 40 minutes here since installing it, I can tell you that this outdoes the factory radio on 2018 easily. So it has a lot of features and functions that the regular card just doesn't have. The biggest for me being the ability to use Google Maps without having your phone hooked up, because I don't usually drive around with my phone. I just don't use a phone very often, so I never think to take it with me. The fact that this thing has its own built-in Android system and therefore has its own Google Maps, has its own GPS, and has its own Wi-Fi for updates and stuff, I mean, sweet. I'll leave a link down below for where you can purchase this thing, but it's really cool. Liking it. Anyway, I'm Eric, the owner of Farpoint Farms. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, perhaps you will think about liking and subscribing. I'll see you next time. Take care.